You have an order.
No wonder your own men call you a Granny Gates.
Benedict Arnold. Every American is aware of his name, but you will get surprised to know that Arnold was also one of the Revolution's greatest heroes. During the start of the Revolutionary War, Benedict Arnold was one of George Washington's best generals. But now, he's remembered as America's biggest traitor. This happened after he tried to give West Point, an important American fort, to the British for money. When this plot failed, he joined the British Army instead. So, what went wrong with him? Let us dive deeper into it. During the French and Indian War, which happened between 1756 and 1763, Arnold wanted to volunteer in 1755, but his mother didn't allow him because he was too young. However, in 1757, when he turned 16, he enlisted in the Connecticut militia. His unit headed towards Albany and Lake George in New York. However, their plans changed when the French attacked and laid siege to Fort William Henry in northeastern New York. After hearing about the atrocities committed by the French and their Indian allies, Arnold's unit turned back. As a result, Arnold served for only 2 weeks in 1757. After the war, Arnold became a successful businessman. He married Margaret Mansfield, and they had 3 children. Sadly, Margaret passed away in 1775. As tensions rose before the Revolutionary War, Arnold joined the Continental Army and was given a captain's commission from Massachusetts. He fought in the battles of Lexington and Concord. Later, he joined Ethan Allen and his Green Mountain Boys to capture Fort Ticonderoga from the British in New York. Arnold also led a daring raid on Fort St. John on the Richelieu River, north of Lake Champlain. When Arnold and the militia commander disagreed over control of Fort Ticonderoga, Arnold resigned his commission and was on his way home when he learned of his wife's death. Despite this, Arnold's men remained loyal to him because of his courage under fire. He later met with General George Washington in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where he suggested an invasion of Quebec, authorized by the Second Continental Congress. Arnold rejoined the army as a colonel with 1,100 men. His plan involved moving through the wilderness, but he was passed over for command. General Richard Montgomery led the operation. Arnold's troops arrived at Quebec in November 1775 after a challenging march, with many desertions and deaths. They joined Montgomery's force to prepare for the attack. Battle of Quebec. Arnold waited for Montgomery to arrive and help his force, but when Montgomery was delayed, Arnold had to make a risky move. On December 31, 1775, during a blizzard, Arnold led his men in a desperate attack on the well-fortified Quebec City. Montgomery arrived late, and as Arnold led the charge, British defenders fired back, killing Montgomery and severely injuring Arnold. A musket ball shattered Arnold's left femur, but his friend, Chaplain Samuel Spring, carried him to a makeshift hospital at the Hotel Dieu. The surgeon considered amputation, but Arnold insisted on having the wound bound, which ultimately saved his leg. Arnold was eventually promoted to brigadier general for reaching Quebec, and his remaining force kept the British under siege until Major General David Wooster arrived to take over in April 1776. Despite their efforts, the Battle of Quebec ended in failure, with many colonial soldiers killed, wounded, or captured, and Canada remained under British control. Arnold suffered from a slight limp after his wound healed, but it wouldn't be the last time he was injured in the same leg. He blamed Montgomery's absence for not providing the planned flanking fire that could have changed the outcome. Washington knew Arnold's value and accomplishments, and he asked Arnold to reconsider that he would see to it he was promoted if at all possible, and Arnold relented. Arnold knew that he needed the rank to be more effective in commanding troops not subordinated to lesser men, and was back in time to participate in the defense of central New York from an invading British force under General Sir John Barroway in the fall of 1777. This time Arnold would be subordinate to General Horace Gates, and the two men openly detested each other. Arnold suspected a British attack on their left flank, and he wanted his men positioned there, but Gates disagreed, sending instead Daniel Morgan's men as a reconnaissance unit. The Battle of Ridgefield. In early 1777, Arnold returned to leading his soldiers in a fight against the British in Connecticut. The British, led by William Tryon, were told by a spy that there was an important place where the Continental Army kept weapons. Although the British reached their goal, They lost many more soldiers than the Americans did during the fight. Arnold almost died himself, with 2 of his horses being shot during the battle. Battle of Saratoga. Arnold suspected a British attack on their left flank, but Gates disagreed and relieved him of command. Arnold, however, took command back and led a successful assault at the Battle of Bemis Heights. Despite his crucial role, Gates falsely claimed credit for the attack. Arnold's leg was wounded again, and he accepted the position of military governor of Philadelphia. On his way to Philadelphia, he organized a militia response to a British march toward Danbury, Connecticut, despite being unable to walk. He led a militia group in the Battle of Ridgefield, where he was wounded in his left leg for the 3rd time. In a letter from Washington, Arnold's promotion to Major General is celebrated alongside his achievements at Ridgeland. Despite the unfortunate passing of Worcester, this elevation in rank signifies Arnold's valued service. Nevertheless, Arnold's sense of recognition is marred by rumors of misconduct during his governorship in Philadelphia, including accusations of profiteering and living beyond his means. How he became a traitor. Despite his rising rank, Arnold remains unsatisfied with his perceived lack of recognition. Eventually, in 1779, disillusioned and burdened by debt, Arnold begins secret negotiations with the British, offering to surrender West Point in exchange for money and a British rank. This marks a turning point in Arnold's loyalty. Amidst a court-martial and subsequent clearing of charges, Arnold is given command of West Point, where he secretly plots with British General Sir Henry Clinton. Realizing his treasonous actions, Arnold flees to the HMS Vulture and sails to New York City. His escape sparks a manhunt led by Washington. Meanwhile, Arnold is paid handsomely by the British and becomes a brigadier general. He leads British forces in battles against Richmond and New London, where surrendering troops are executed. According to an article from U.S. History, Washington ordered his cavalry commander, Major Henry Light Horse Harry Lee, to plan the capture of Arnold from New York City. 3 months later, Arnold led 1,600 men of the American Legion, mostly Loyalist troops and Continental Army deserters, to Richmond, Virginia's capital, which was defended by only a small handful of volunteers. After being chased off by Arnold's men, Governor Thomas Jefferson offered a bounty of 5,000 gold coins for the capture of the former American general. Arnold survived the war and moved with his wife Peggy to England, where he lived out the remainder of his life, mistrusted even by the British and consigned to relative obscurity. He died in London in 1801.